right into it. Okay, once again, my name is Andrew Cameron. I am a security technologist focused on identity and access management. I'm here today. We're going to talk about crypto wallets. Specifically, we're going to get into MetaMask. There are other wallets out there, and we'll get into different strategies about different wallets that you can use. I will urge you to investigate. In fact, a big theme of what I'm going to be talking about today is really about the power that you get out of being involved in this ecosystem. Right? It's really there's a lot that is you need to understand, that you need to educate yourself about, and that's why conferences like this are really so important. So I'm going to get right into it. For terms of agenda, we're going to talk about some high level concepts. My background in cybersecurity is in identity and access management. So the roots of crypto wallets are kind of based in a concept that we call verifiable credentials or decentralized identity, and I'll get into kind of what that means. We're going to talk about MetaMask. We're going to walk through an actual installation of MetaMask. And everywhere that as we go through this, we're going to get into security tips in terms of how you configure a MetaMask wallet and how it interacts with either other wallets or other services. And then I'll get into a more substantial section around how you secure your wallet and sort of some configuration guidance, some information around how you will set your wallet up and interact, and possibly we can even get into an example of interacting with another service where you can actually leverage a service to actually start to mint an NFT. It's called Mintable, actually, is the name of the service. So, as I mentioned, I'm a Marvel guy, and so I will always drop a Marvel reference into my presentation. So, and the theme here today is with great power comes great responsibility, right? And so the message that I want you to be able to take away is that, yes, crypto investing, crypto ecosystem is a great step forward. The technology is really exciting, that supports it. The Web3 architecture altogether is a great step forward, but there is risk, and so I just want to make sure that it's things that I present here are for your information, for your benefit. I'm not here representing anybody from any business perspective. I have no business stake into what we're talking about here today. I'm just here sharing information that I think could be valuable. In the other aspect of this, and as we get into setting up wallets and configuring wallets, because that deals with your money and your finances, and it's been mentioned earlier in earlier presentations, crypto investing is very risky these days, and I'll get into some of the issues around it and why that is. There are scammers out there. There are folks out there who are looking to take your money. Right, they're looking to scam you out of your investments, and there's so many different ways of doing it. And so, it's important that you understand the risk involved, and that's why, what I am starting to talk to you about today is really sort of just a 101 level, a introduction level of what you'll need to get familiar with as you interact with this ecosystem. So, very important that you understand that. Everything I could tell you today, while it could be helpful and while it could be informative, you still could end up getting, being a victim of crime, right? You still could end up getting scammed. The stories of how people who are, informed, knowledgeable people are getting scammed are plentiful out there. I'll share a couple of them. And it's just, I can't stress enough that as you start to engage in this ecosystem, being aware of what you're doing in your computing environment is going to be super, super, super important, right? And so I'll touch on all of these things, but again, in the form of disclaimer, we're sharing info here. It's all love. Feedback. If I didn't share enough, always throw in the feedback and let me know what's going on in terms of how you felt about the information that you got. But I just wanted to kind of lay that out in terms of as we get this started. Okay, so let's talk about decentralized identity, right? And and what it means to the blockchain. I've been in IAM for at least 15, probably 20 years now, and there's several models in terms of how identity management has sort of enabled security throughout the growth of the internet, right? And so things started with what we'll call a centralized identity model, right? And so that really started with you would go and register somewhere for an account. Was it Yahoo? Was it AOL? You would register for that account. You would get a credential, right? And that credential could be anything. It could be an email address, or it could be any string of characters that you chose to call yourself, right? Everybody had an AOL handle or whatever, right? And that was your identity in those services, right? And they owned that identity, but it wasn't scalable. That model, you were only able to interact with that particular service. If you wanted to take that identity and interact with any other service, it was difficult, it was risky, it was sharing of passwords and things like that. And that model didn't scale. The internet outstripped the original centralized identity model. There are some forms of it that are still there, but there in the early days of the internet, centralized identity was kind of how we got started, and it got everybody into this form of I need a user ID and a password, right? That's what everything was about. And security has evolved past that. And now we've evolved, in probably the last 10 years, we've evolved in what we call a federated identity model. And so with federated identity, you can actually use a single identity to access multiple different services, right? So you might sign in to other services with your Facebook, right? You might sign in to, when you set up your video services, when you sign into Netflix, and when you sign into Amazon Prime to watch your video services on your smart TVs, you are using federated identity. You're actually using an identity that you may have set up with your cable service. You may have set up an identity with Google TV, and you're using that identity to log in to your smart TV, and then it recognizes who you are, and then it'll set you up to be able to use your services in the smart TV or whatever you're choosing to watch your video service in. So the identity provider, that who issued you that credential, they actually then validate who you are when someone else asked about it, right? So if you choose to use your Facebook or Google account and you say, I want to use my Facebook or Google account, you'll click on that. They'll redirect you back to Google and they'll say, okay, enter your Google credentials. That'll be valid. And then you'll get access to whatever service you're trying to get access to, right? And so that's kind of where we've moved over in the past few years, past 10 years, I would say. And the thing about that model, and the thing that has become concerning about that model is that they become these super planetary scale hubs of personal information, right? And when they capture all of that personal information about tens of millions to hundreds of millions to billions of people, which is where the Facebooks and the Googles are, those become privacy concerns with people and having personal information shared out there. And so being able to value your privacy and to establish your privacy has been a concern. And so that evolved us to where we are now, which is called the decentralized identity model, right? And decentralized identity is peer-to-peer. It's you connecting to someone else, and it's you basically exchanging only what's necessary to interact with someone else. And so that's where blockchain comes into play, because blockchain is a decentralized, democratized set of technologies that allows you to interact with somebody and exchange some commerce, exchange whatever kind of assets that you're integrating with them about, and you don't need a massive amount of personal information to interact with somebody, right? In decentralized identity model, all you're doing is sharing essentially what is a public key, and I'll get into what that is as we move forward. Trust is more of a concern, and when I say that, it's because there's more risk involved with trust, and because you don't always know in a peer-to-peer model who you're interacting with, right? And there's ways you can validate that, there's ways you can lower your risk, but being able to establish a connection with somebody and trust who you're interacting with is huge, and it means everything, right? It means how you're going to protect your assets, how you're going to protect your cryptocurrency. So it's very important as you understand that going forward. So where we are moving now, and everything with crypto wallets is based on a more of a decentralized identity model. Okay, so why is decentralized identity important? It creates a level of efficiency that you just have never seen before, because it essentially is it cuts out a lot of the middleman interaction that you have when you are using kind of the traditional commerce model, right? And so peer-based transactions, they can complete faster. Complications are fewer when it comes to the trust model, and it takes cost out of the business workflow, right? It takes the amount that it takes for you to search and interact and find partners to conduct business with. In a peer-to-peer model, all of that is taken out of the picture, and you work directly with whoever you're integrating or whoever you're commercing with. It takes Big Brother out of the picture, right? So now in these decentralized identity models, you're not sharing a huge amount of personal information. Privacy is much more valued. In the currency model is not based on tracking you and finding out your likes and dislikes, and it's not a marketing based commerce model. It doesn't matter that you have 1 million followers and all. It really kind of moves away from that, from a value statement, and it brings it more to a lot more of the things that you interact with on a blockchain about, and NFTs, things that we're talking about today. And then it removes that central authority. It removes that Big Brother effect where you're in a peer-to-peer model. There's no central interaction required, although in some cases where there are currency exchanges that are still central that you still interact with. But the risk, and I'll get into that in a lot more detail, the risk of interacting with commerce and in leveraging cryptocurrency altogether is purely on the account holder. It's purely on you. And so learning how to secure yourself and protect your assets, your keys, as it is, to your wallets, are going to be paramount in how you move forward, right? And one of the other things that you'll hear about, and things that we're discussing even here today, is that previously excluded economies can now participate, right? So in a third world country, you can interact on a level of commerce that you never would have been able to do, right? In underserved communities, we're talking about being able to extend these types of communities to people who normally aren't able to participate in tech in a large level. Now they're able to be more inclusive with a cryptocurrency commerce format, and that helps. It lowers the playing field, and it makes everyone more inclusive in terms of the overall benefits. Okay, so MetaMask itself, you've heard it mentioned. It is a crypto wallet, and so let's get into kind of what it is and why we are going to be using it. So MetaMask is a PKI-based technology, right? You're going to hear things like public keys and private keys and passphrases, and and all of that is based on encryption technologies there are standards that have been developed, and there's been a lot of effort in being able to kind of develop these security standards that allow the maximum amount of security, assuming that you protect yourself with some of the measures that we'll talk about today. But it enables you to trade cryptocurrency in this ecosystem, right? And so today's example, we're going to be talking more about Ethereum, but you can trade any kind of cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin or any of the other hundreds of different types of currencies that are out there. And then we're going to get into the type of wallet that MetaMask is, which is a non-custodial wallet, right? And non-custodial wallet means that you have all of the control, right? You own the recoverability of the wallet. You own the private keys of all of the accounts that are in the wallet. And if you choose to store assets in your wallet, you own the keys to those assets. All of that is under your control, and which is why the risk gets so much higher as opposed to a custodial wallet, which is those like Crypto.com and Coinbase are kind of more of forms of a custodial wallet where they manage the private keys for your accounts for you. And there's some ability to have some recoverability with major exchanges like that. But there's still a lot of risk because when you're interacting on the blockchain, those transactions tend to be permanent, and the effects of them can be permanent if you happen to be scammed or anything like that. I'm going to talk about a strategy for managing multiple wallets, things to protect yourself against if you do get caught slipping, as I heard Max say. There are going to be strategies of things you can do to protect yourself that you minimize your losses, right? You minimize the risk of losing the entirety of your crypto assets. So as we get into this, we're going to talk about 3 types of keys that are going to be critical in understanding how to secure your wallet. There's a wallet password, and that is very device specific, and we'll get into that. There's going to be the wallet recovery phrase, which is the key to being able to access your wallet on any device, right? On any computer. As long as you know the wallet recovery phrase, and only you that should know it, you'll be able to use that to regenerate your wallet, because the wallet really is a representation of what you own on the blockchain. What a wallet does is it goes and it scans the blockchain and it pulls in the keys and information that it can be tied to you, right? It can be tied to your public key. So it's really important that something like your passphrase, your recovery phrase, is never ever shared with anybody, right? I'm going to be repeating that a few times, but that's just something that I want to make sure that you understand, that when you are interacting, and there's going to be a lot of examples of how people are getting scammed. There is no situation in any circumstance that you need to give your passphrase to anyone, unless you're like writing a will and you want somebody to know how to get to your assets after you're gone. I even mentioned that later on as well. Okay, so I mentioned kind of custodial versus non-custodial wallets, and the custodial wallets they kind of are similar to the major exchanges, and the typical way that you would use a custodial wallet is that's where you would exchange your U.S. currency to create crypto, right? And then you'd manage your vault, your bank account level crypto in a Coinbase style wallet, and you would transfer just enough into your local wallet, like a MetaMask, to be able to interact in commerce. Say if you wanted to buy something that was for some small price, you wouldn't give access to your entire crypto assets wallet. You would transfer a small amount of that money into a more transactional wallet, is what I'm going to call it, and you'll use that to interact with your online services. And I'll get into that as we move forward. But in general, with a custodial wallet, it's a hybrid model. It's kind of a centralized, decentralized model, and the private keys, they own the private keys for your accounts, and it is in some ways recoverable. Based on the situation, you may be able to recover either your account or the wallet itself with a custodial wallet. Non-custodial wallet is really what MetaMask is, and that's what we're going to be getting into today. Totally decentralized model, totally account holder, user oriented. User owns every aspect of the account, and that's where the risk is, in terms of you have to make sure that you protect yourself and everything that you're using as you interact with assets on the blockchain. Okay, so I've talked about, again, I covered at a high level the 3 types of keys or passwords that are in the environment. MetaMask is typically a browser extension. There is a mobile app that I'll make references to. The MetaMask itself has disabled the ability to kind of synchronize your online account into your mobile app. I think there's some security improvements they've been making to it. So I'm going to focus on kind of the desktop browser version of the MetaMask plugin, and that's what we'll use kind of for our examples in our discussion. But typically, when you install MetaMask, you'll install a browser plugin, and I'll get into where you do it and how you do that. And that MetaMask app has a password, right? And that's what we will call a MetaMask password. That is not your wallet password. It's not your wallet passphrase, but it is how you unlock your wallet in order to view it in the browser. And I'll show you how that works in a minute. It's very device specific. So if you choose to install your wallet on multiple browsers, and again, risky if you do that, but if you choose to do that, you can. And MetaMask will walk you through the process of setting up your account. And when you set a password for to access MetaMask, that password is not the same one on every device, right? If you do it on your mobile phone and you do it in your desktop browser, you may set the password to be the same password, but it's not physically the same password. So that's something that's important to know. And in situations, if you set the password to be different, you could find yourself, locking yourself out of your account. So you just want to be aware of that. And so it gives you access to your current wallet. I'm going to make references to password managers. Password managers are something that I highly recommend that you take a look at, especially if you're getting into crypto. Password managers can then be used to store your keys, right? There's secure storage within a password manager app that allows you to access it only with an MFA challenge, right? Or if you choose to use like a YubiKey, you can protect your access to your keys in the password manager, in the vault that exists in the password manager, and that can be available to you as long as you know how to use the first and second factor to get into that. And so it's a bit more of I won't get into full detail about that, but I'll have some references to some popular password managers, and I'll even show you how one of them works. So then there's a wallet passphrase. Wallet passphrase is what controls access to your wallet. It is the passphrase that you will use to regenerate and regain access to your wallet if you have to switch devices or if you change from a desktop device to a mobile phone. The wallet app itself may ask you for your passphrase in order to regenerate it. And when I say regeneration, all it's doing is going out and scanning the blockchain and pulling in all of your specific keys and transactions. But the main thing is, again, second time I'm saying this, must never be shared. You're the only one who needs to know your wallet passphrase. I don't know, I've been married for 22 years. I might share it with my wife, but she'd be the only one, right? And so be careful about that and where you store that. And it is never share it in any online scenario. And I'll get into it. People will chat and tell you that things like, please validate your wallet, please authenticate your wallet. All of those are scam artists trying to get at you. Be careful. Never share your wallet passphrase. The other critical piece of information is called your account key or your private key. And so that allows you to secure access to a particular account in your wallet. Again, never to be shared, but a private key is what allows you to validate your account in a transaction, right? And so there are ways that ends up being validated, and that's also another key that you have to manage. And it's not specific to the entire wallet, but it is account specific. And so the relationship that I cover up top here again is that MetaMask controls a single wallet. A wallet has multiple accounts, and so that's kind of the relationship of how MetaMask is set up. You can add as many accounts as you want in your wallet. There's two types of accounts. There's an imported account and there's a native account. So a native account is what you create within MetaMask. An imported account is what you use. You can import with a private key. And with that private key, it'll go out in the blockchain and validate that account, and it'll allow you to manage it within MetaMask. When you regenerate a wallet, an imported account will not show up. You'll need to re-import that account with that same private key if you decide to do that on another device. So I talk about public and private keys. Your account is referenced on the blockchain by a public key, right? You can share that in terms of when you want to receive funds. If you want someone to send funds to you, you would give them your public key. It allows you to receive a payment, right? A private key is used to verify that the funds that are associated with a particular account are yours. It'll be required for transactions, but it should not. You'll validate it within the confines of your wallet, and you should never have to share that with any kind of an external party. So those are kind of the concepts of a public and private key. Public key, again, is what you would typically give out to someone when you want to share and have them send funds to your to be received in your account. The other thing is that there are permissions involved with these transactions, and all transactions should be validated and approved by you in your wallet. And that's also something that's really important to do, because sometimes what people will do is they will, in terms of them either sending or receiving funds from you, they might add in secret transactions that would actually give them full access to all of the crypto in your wallet. And I've seen examples of people who will approve what they think is just accessing their account on some kind of an exchange, and as soon as they click a acceptance of a transaction, they'll go in their wallet and they'll see all of their funds were taken away. And the reason that is because they approved multiple transactions and they didn't look at all of the transactions. And what happens is some of those transactions actually give permissions to an outside party to be able to withdraw like up to 8 figures of currency out of your wallet, right? And you don't know that, you don't realize that until it's too late. And so, Mac mentioned earlier about the enhancements that are going to be needed to the protocol to kind of protect people against those kinds of vulnerabilities. But that's just something right now, if you choose to interact in this ecosystem, you have to be very careful about what you do, and anything you click on your browser is something that could expose you in terms of if you install malware or anything else in your browser. So we're going to take a break for the first exercise, and I'm just going to briefly go over it. For exercise 1, we have 2 exercises. In your browser, go to metamask.io, and it's important to understand you never click on a link that is not really actually metamask.io, right? And so the reason why is because what will happen is that scammers will actually put out fake versions of wallets out in the environment, and they will have accounts embedded in them that allow them to withdraw funds out of your wallet. And you want to be careful about that, and always check the source. And so what will happen is you'll get redirected to one of the extension stores, whether you're using Edge or Chrome or even Firefox, and you will install the MetaMask extension in your browser. You will create a password as part of the flow of establishing your crypto wallet. And if you're using a password manager, that's an opportunity. You can store that into your password manager, and I'll show you that in a bit. And then it'll ask you about some data sharing, and then you will get taken to. So here are the screens, and then it'll ask you about some data sharing. I don't share data with them for their purposes. And the other thing that I wanted to call out is that on the let me skip forward over that. So I mentioned password managers. 2 that I have used and speak very fondly of are Bitwarden, which is more of a open source password manager. It's secure. It's been very well reviewed across the industry, and it's supported on all platforms. So what that means is that when you set up and start storing passwords in a password vault, as long as it's supported on all of the desktop browsers and on mobile devices, you'll be able to share and use your passwords in the same vault. And so it becomes a very kind of a necessary thing as you get into crypto, to be able to store and capture and use your keys. And it's highly recommended actually to actually keep them in a password manager. So LastPass is another one that I use, and that are generally highly recommended across the industry. And I'll link in a couple of articles that show you how to use password managers in your overall management of your keys in the flow. So finishing up your MetaMask setup, you'll get to a seed recovery phrase. It'll generate that for you. And you'll see the screens here that it'll talk about you'll click to show your passphrase, and then it'll show you your passphrase, and then it'll walk you through validating your passphrase. And so you'll go through all of that flow. It'll tell you that you're finished, and that's where you will save, however you choose to save it. And we'll get into some of the security recommendations around that going forward. So that's the setup. That's the first exercise. I want to take maybe 5 or 7 minutes. I will leave questions available in the chat, and then I'll pick it back up. We'll say 2:40. I'll pick it back up and walk through kind of some final recommendations to allow for some final questions. Does that sound good? Is there a way to see my NFT on the MetaMask extension? Yes, you are able to import your token. So when you mint your NFT, you should get a token, and you are able to store that token in your wallet. I can give you a link on how to do that. Basically, there's a flow. It's called import a custom token, and it's like if you either buy it externally, or you can either, if you purchase it through MetaMask, it should capture it when you do the purchase through MetaMask. But if you don't, then you can import that token into your wallet. Can you transfer digital assets from a custodial wallet to a non-custodial? Yes, you can. All you need is to be able to send your assets from, and that was part of the recommendation actually, that you can send your assets, send any amount of those assets to the public key of your non-custodial wallet. Do you have to have a Discord or WhatsApp? No. No, that's a great question, because that's what happens is folks think that they have to set up Discord in order to interact with people in some way to get support for the wallet. And if you look at the MetaMask website and the help system, they expressly tell you that if anyone reaches out to you over Discord and starts to offer you help, and they start asking you for things to see your wallet or to interact with your wallet, shut them down. Give them a negative word or two and tell them to go somewhere. And they are trying to hustle you. They're trying to scam you. So Discord is great, for community. I don't want to totally say that Discord is not the right thing, but in terms of being required for MetaMask at all, no, it's not. Yeah, Jennifer, your question, that is, it's a thing, and you're going to start to see in estate planning a kind of a digital crypto transition plan in estate planning that's going to have to start to be there, because with the way that assets are secured, if you don't have, you need to have a way of, whether it's a safe deposit box, if you print your recovery phrase and put it in a safe deposit box and leave that in part of your will, that at least allows your loved ones to be able to have those assets as you move forward. So it is a great question, and it's something that you're going to start to see in terms of being able to include crypto assets in part of your overall estate. Would I recommend cold storage? Yes. Cold storage is the most secure way to store your assets, and I'll get into that. I have a slide that talks about cold storage, and it requires a little bit of an investment. You need to go out and buy yourself an actual hardware wallet, but it is the most secure way of managing your assets, and it's anywhere that you look. Cold storage, it's a bit more of a couple extra steps to be able to do that, but it is the recommended way of protecting your assets. That's right. Safe deposit box still there. What else we have here? Any other questions? Yeah, wallet recovery phrases. Jennifer's other question. Wallet recovery phrases can't be reset. They're not like a password. So once you set it for your particular wallet, it will never change for that wallet. And that's why it's so important to keep it, right? Because no one can go in behind you and change your recovery phrase. They can, you can regenerate that wallet into a new wallet, and the accounts that are there should be part of that wallet. But it's not like a password, like you go somewhere and someone, if they get your email address, they can reset your wallet recovery phrase. No, they should not be able to do that. And you would be able to, as long as you never share your recovery phrase, folks should not be able to steal your wallet in total. There are other ways that you can still get scammed, but you should never, as long as your recovery phrase is protected, you should at least remove the risk of your wallet getting totally compromised. Can you transfer? I think I answered that, Dave. Yep, you can transfer assets between hot and cold wallets. Yes. So yeah, go ahead and once you install your wallet, and I'll give you some. We'll get into some configuration tips, and I'm going to try to have at least another 5 minutes for you guys to play around and look at the wallet itself. I will be able to. Hopefully, you're still seeing my screen. I'll show you a wallet that I have set up, which is this here. There we go. And so this is a simple wallet that I set up, no money in it, of course. And why I set it up like this, the vault account and transaction account, and other settings. We'll get into that in a moment. In fact, if there are no other questions, maybe I can just jump right back and get it going again. 2 more minutes, and then I will go ahead and finish and do my next section. If there are no more questions. I wonder if we will have entities in the future that will manage our decentralized identities on our behalf. If there are some people who don't feel like managing it themselves, the entity can make transactions. Whew, yeah. Yes, probably possible, Dave. But the whole point of the decentralized identity model is that it puts all of that control in the account holder's control, right? And so you can set up the ability of robots to do transactions on your behalf. You'll be able to, that's something that you can do today. But there are some elements of it, being able to import accounts and export keys and things like that, probably not advisable to do to be able to do that on your behalf. But, there are business cases. Again, you may find it necessary to include a delegate on your account, right? A delegate who can restore and manage your wallet on your behalf. So that might be some way of being able to transition an asset to somebody or to a loved one. So those are things like that that'll help with the security model that'll be able to, I think you'll start to see as we move forward. Okay, I'm going to pick it back up. Let's get back to the deck. Okay, so let's get the slides going here. All right, so again, I want to stress that the risk in interacting on these websites is high today, right? There's a lot of benefit, obviously. There's a lot of good reasons, and I don't want to discourage anyone or chase you away, but there's a lot of scamming that's going on out there, and let's get into that, and let's understand some of it then. So, again, 2 things that you want to get out of this talk, and I've covered it. Is that you never, ever, 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 ever share your wallet passphrase. I was going to do it like a joke and say, like, everyone put your wallet passphrase in the chat so I can, see who actually was listening to me. But you never share it to anybody, period. That's just it. And then, other thing that it's important to understand, saving your passphrase securely doesn't mean hide it, right? Hiding it means that you're prone to forget it, okay? So stuffing it in a corner in your basement, and, if God forbid something happens to you and no one's able to find it, doesn't really do a whole lot of folks a whole lot of good, right? So storing it securely means that there's a way to recover it, right? Because this is potentially significant value, and you want to be careful about storing it somewhere that it can be recovered, and it doesn't mean that you hide it somewhere that no one else ever can find it. So one important thing to understand: lots of examples of folks that are out there who this particular dude, he moved. And he threw out a bunch of stuff as a part of his move when he moved from one apartment or one home to another. and he had Bitcoin that was valued at the time when he threw the stuff out of around $220 million, right? And so he threw that out. There's a follow-up story to this guy where he went to, there's a trash dump, I believe it was in London. He had to go to a trash dump and try to find it, and he didn't find it. And it's obviously it's a terrible story, but don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that builds up such a vast fortune of crypto that you're not taking the proper procedures to be able to access it securely. So here's a question about hardware wallets. In MetaMask, it gives you the ability to connect to a hardware wallet. These are advancing in their capability and technology. And so these are the vendors that are supported in MetaMask. There are more than this. Ledger is kind of the one that most people are using. And you can typically find one for about $125 is kind of what they're going for. And hardware wallets are generally considered the most secure way of storing crypto. A cold wallet can't be accessed unless it's actually plugged into your computer, and that would kind of defeat the purpose if you left a cold wallet plugged into your computer. But it's kind of a specialized USB drive, and you can purchase them online. And again, it's also important that you go to the manufacturers to purchase them, and you don't buy one. Typically, if you go to Amazon and just search cold wallets or cold storage, you don't know where you're buying. You don't necessarily know that those are coming straight from the manufacturer, and those could be hacked, regenerated cold wallets that could be configured to kind of be able to let somebody get into your wallet at any time. So you do want to make sure that you actually go to the manufacturer and purchase it straight from the manufacturer. And so in MetaMask, if you go in, and I'll show you the menu in terms of where that happens, but you can actually set it up and connect your hardware wallet, and it works pretty seamlessly. So that's was a great question by a couple of you all, and that's obviously a highly recommended approach once you start to get more involved in the ecosystem. All right, some other aspects of wallet security that I want to cover. It's when you install your wallets on multiple devices, you're increasing your risk, right? And so whether you actually need it on a mobile phone, there's probably folks who have a lot of reasons on why they want to install it on their mobile phone, and I don't want to totally rule that out. But just understand that the more, mobile phones get lost, mobile phones get accessed when the screen's not locked, and that's just something you want to be careful about, right? So if you only do it on the desktop browser, that's some risk that you don't have to deal with, right? Whether you're on a mobile device or on a desktop computer, make sure that you have antivirus endpoint protection installed, disk is encrypted, and you need to be more of a student of personal security when it comes to everything digital, right? Regularly keep yourself educated on what it means to secure yourself. I mean, obviously, always use a screen lock on a mobile device if you're going to manage your wallet. And I talked about a password manager on how important that is. I'll get into more of these type of scams, but Discord was mentioned. When you're on Discord, or when you're on any online, Reddit, anything like that, there is no reason to share any of your wallet personal information with anybody online. All it is just literally letting them walk into your bank account and take whatever is in your wallet. I talked about a cold storage. I'll get into the wallet account strategy in a moment. I talked about at a high level kind of how you separate from a vault and a transactional wallet. And for those of us who are we're in IT, we're geeks out here. Consider a separate virtual machine that is only there for crypto transactions, right? You can it's no cost to set it up, and what it does is it keeps your wallet interaction on a machine that's dedicated just for that, right? And so if you are on your general computer where you're doing all of your other known and unknown browser interactions, all that does is it increases the risk for you to be able to interact with some malware. And there's some very sophisticated, very insidious malware out there where there's malware out there that's literally looking for private keys, if you copy them into your clipboard, it can recognize that and then forward that information to somewhere else out on the internet, and then it basically then has your private key to your account, and and you don't even know it until your crypto is gone because you copied it into your virtual clipboard on your device, and because you installed some malware without even knowing it from some other website, right? And so that's why it may seem extreme, but to be able to set up a dedicated VM and use that just for crypto transactions is something that you might, as you all become ballers, you might want to consider it. And then again, we talked about it. The question came up earlier. Are your loved ones covered? Like, is your estate planning include a way for you to kind of have your assets be recovered and transitioned to your children, to your loved ones, whoever that could be? That's something that you need to consider and talk to your legal professionals about doing that, or take the steps yourself to set it up to allow someone to be able to safe deposit box or whoever that may be to be able to recover your wallet and to take that forward from your own control. So I'm going to get in now. We can go into the second exercise, and I'll kind of walk with you guys to do that since we're running a little short on time. And that's to kind of browse through the settings of the wallet. Matt covered kind of what Etherscan is. Etherscan is really important because Etherscan is a way to kind of see transactions that may happen, and if you start to see transactions against your wallet that you didn't authorize, and that's something to be concerned about. And so we'll walk through kind of different steps of you can rename accounts. What it means to lock your wallet in the browser, and things like that. Also, what the QR code means and why you don't share your screen with other people, because they can actually copy your QR code and things like that. So you have to be careful about that. And then there's also the final step in terms of the lab. You can go in and export your private key, and you're going to keep that in safekeeping with your passphrase and your other key assets around for your wallet, so that you have that for safekeeping and it can be recovered. And so take a look at this slide. I'll leave this up for the second exercise. We're just going to take 5 minutes for it, and then browse through the different settings in MetaMask. And these are things that this deck will be available to you. And these are kind of some recommended security settings that have come up that I captured. So it's things like setting your auto lock timer and things like that. So assuming that you finish exercise 1, I'm going to take 5 minutes, walk you through the MetaMask browser itself, and we'll be able to take that we'll be able to do the lab together, let's say. So another thing that you might want to consider is I set this up. This is Brave, and I don't know if you're familiar with Brave as a browser, but all of the major browsers today are kind of built on the Chrome web engine, and so Brave is another browser that is basically a secure browser, right? It's one of the more. It's got all of the most up-to-date security capabilities built into it, even more so than Chrome in a lot of ways. And so I would even recommend, if you're not going to create like a VM, that you create, install Brave and then make that be the only browser that you use to interact with your crypto. So here's the icon for MetaMask. Here's the vault, the view. The Ethereum network is, I won't get into this. Gets a bit deeper into the Web3 infrastructure. You can connect to other crypto networks, even like test networks to kind of, if you're a software developer, you can actually connect to a test network to do kind of validating your software. Most everything that you will interact with, if you're dealing with NFTs, will be on the Ethereum mainnet. And so now this is the interface for MetaMask, and here is where your browser profile is set up. And so I talked about setting up the Vault account and your transaction account, and the philosophy behind it is that your Vault account would never be connected to any external website, right? And you'll get a screen that'll ask you about which account do you want to connect. And if you set up two accounts and you do a transaction account, you would always only connect your transaction account, right? Because presumably you've only moved funds in there to actually execute a single transaction. And you would never connect an external service to what your vault account is. And that way, you won't get transactions, you won't get permissions against that. They won't even be aware that that account is there. And that would allow you to interact primarily just with, on a transactional level, this particular account. And then within that account, again, this is kind of the QR code that represents the public and private key. This is where you export the private key. Here is where it's asking the MetaMask. This is actually asking for the MetaMask password. And now this is my private key. I'm showing this because I don't care, because I don't have any money in this wallet. I'm deleting this when it's done. But this is your private key, and you'll copy this and put this somewhere in safekeeping in your own scenario. And here is Etherscan. I think Max showed you this already, but this is your wallet, your account on Etherscan, and these are all of the. And he walked you through this, and I encourage you to get very familiar with this, because this is basically your blockchain explorer, right? This is your way of viewing what's out there on the blockchain. And so I highly recommend that you educate yourself about what, you even set up an account there and educate yourself about what's available, because you can use this to inform yourself about what's going on with your accounts once you start interacting on the blockchain. Let's see, and here's where you connect your hardware wallet. And these are the various vendors that are supported in MetaMask today. And this is where you can then get into all of the various settings that are in the examples that I gave you, and kind of the exact settings where some of these you'll set for security capability. This is the auto lock timer. You can set this to be, to be less than 5 minutes, things like that. So these are the settings that you'll go into and set to kind of increase your security. And this is the icon, and I'm going to show you in fact, I'm just going to go now and see if I can. What was the name of that site? Let me go back to my deck. I forgot the name of the site. So this is the account management strategy. I'm covering that. So basically, when you have a source and transaction wallet, you can say, you'll interact with your main wallet where all of your crypto would be as you sell or recover crypto assets. They will be in your main wallet, and only when you're ready to make a transaction, you move that into a transactional wallet, and that's the wallet that you actually connect to a website. It's kind of the metaphor I use here is a savings and checking account. Really, is the way you look at it, right? Where that you only really kind of write checks out of your checking account, and your savings account is just there as where your savings should be. So that's kind of the way you look at that. Let me get into this as we're running out of time. These are the type of scams that are out there, right? If you go to any website that says enter your recovery phrase here, it's a scam. If you go to any website, if you're on any service that says please authenticate your wallet here, it's a scam. Hey, I'm from MetaMask support. Join me on Discord and I can help you. It's a scam. If they tell you to go to this address on Telegram or Discord or WhatsApp or any of that, a scam. Here's my private key. You can import it into your wallet. That gives them access to your wallet, also a scam. And again, this is just, when I say not a full list, really, really important that you have to educate yourself and be aware of all of the scams that are out there. It's really tricky to have to navigate these waters and not be educated on what's going on. So one thing I'm going to show before we wrap up is how to actually connect your wallet. And so I'm going to go to a service called Mintable. And this is a service that'll actually, and what happened here, so let me show you what happened here first. Is I'm on Mintable, and this is kind of a service that you can actually mint your NFTs and put them on the blockchain, right? And when I went to the site, it automatically brought up my wallet, and then it tries to connect to my wallet. Now, it doesn't do it yet, but it gives me a list of my accounts that are in my wallet, and it says, hey, here you are. would you like to connect your wallet? And then I'll say yes. And now this is really, really important. Now it's telling you, yes, you're about to connect your wallet to the Mintable service. These are the permissions. This is what Mintable is allowed to do just by allowing this connection. It is, you can see your public address, your balance, and it can see your activity. And it will suggest transactions to approve. That doesn't mean they automatically approve them. You still will have the ability to go in and approve them. But it's always important to understand what these permissions are when you connect to somebody so you know what they can do with your wallet. And so that's something that you'll have to be aware of and make sure that you're aware of when that happens. Now I'm connected. And so now I can go and do whatever I do on Mintable, and you can actually disconnect the wallet then. So I can disconnect it, and then I can go into MetaMask and see, I see now that it recognizes that on this service, I'm connected to this website. And if I want to disconnect, I can go in, I can see, all right, here's what these are the permissions that you approved. And then I can just say, you know what, I think this might be a shady site. I'm going to disconnect. And so now it'll tell you, okay, MetaMask is now not connected, and your icon will update and it shows that you're not connected, and you keep moving on. And so that's something that you can do, and you don't want to leave yourself connected to sites if you're not actually planning to interact in commerce with them. And so that's kind of a safety measure that you want to be aware of as you move forward with that. I'm running out of time, and I want to leave some time for questions. I might run over just a few minutes if considering everything. I hope everyone doesn't mind. But really pleased to be here again this year. I love this conference. I love what it means to the folks here in Detroit area. And hit me with questions. Hit me online. I'm far from an expert. I'm a security guy. I'm an identity guy. But if I know an answer, or if I can refer you somewhere for an answer, I have no problem in being able to try to help you. I am not a crypto expert, and that's not I'm not a crypto baller, crypto bro yet. But I'm learning like the rest of you. But any questions of what we've talked about here today? What are the best VM platforms that you prefer that are user friendly? Well, VMware is what I use, and so VMware has a free VM manager that you can download and use. What was the other one, Matt? What's the other one that Oracle owns now? Can't remember it. That would be the other one that I can't remember that I'll have to put in the chat when I do remember it. VMware Workstation. If you're on a Mac, Parallels is the other one, and VirtualBox, thank you, is what I was trying to remember. So VirtualBox is the open source VM manager, and download VirtualBox. Go get your favorite Linux, Ubuntu, distro, and VirtualBox. Thank you. And you can set up a clean machine with that, right? I mean, that is a recommendation that I'm starting to see more and more of. Parastate SSVM. I'm not familiar with that, Kevin. I have to take a look at that. Yeah, there's so many ways that malware can get into your everyday browsing habits, and so as you get more familiar with the ecosystem, these are the things that you're going to want to be really, really careful about, right? And so eventually it might just be a good idea. Not exactly a security question. As a person getting into this, how do you imagine a person monetizing the knowledge? Well, the way that you monetize knowledge in today's world is give back, consult, and advise businesses. The way it works, the way it has worked in what I do historically, is that you practice, and then you replay that knowledge to others who what did Joker say in Dark Knight? Never do something that for free that somebody would pay you to do. And so that's kind of that's kind of the mindset, right? That you learn and you become an expert at something through practice, and then you use that to be able to again, I'm not saying you charge everybody with monetizing it, but that's how this knowledge that I'm giving out today and taking it to the next level as you advise businesses how to do that. That's kind of how that typically would work. Are the latest cybersecurity measures addressing wallet protection? they're getting there. Again, the end-to-end guidance is what's kind of needed, and that's why as I did the research for this, and I started seeing all of the ridiculous scams that people have been falling subject to. That's why being educated about it is really important. But they are getting there as we get into things like FIDO and hardware keys. Those are going to be yeah, there you go. Thank you, Kevin. As you get more into leveraging those for securing access to anything, right? Then yeah, that will be, where cybersecurity really steps up, and you can leverage that to protect your crypto as well. Is it still the case in 2022 that Macs are more secure than PCs online? I would say that is not necessarily the case, because once you get online, once you are in a particular, once you're browsing online, it's still kind of harder. It's still kind of harder to get Macs on the malware. Get malware on the Macs. But I think that the difference is negligible these days. That you can be hacked and scammed in either environment, especially when it comes to crypto and getting access to wallets. That it won't matter if you're on a Mac or a PC if you do the wrong thing. Right? Do you have any tips for hiring someone to create a custom NFT collection? Wow. I don't. I will leave that to Mac and the broader audience to take a shot at. And the thing about it, there's a whole set of learnings around creating collections, essentially marketing them and making them available so that people see them as having value. And that's really the whole, when it comes to NFTs, and that's what's, I saw somebody mentioned earlier about the NFL recognize that. The NFL recognized that, their history and they have value just by their brand, right? And so by them creating NFTs and making them available for people to buy and use, that was kind of an easy win for them. For you and me that are just out here trying to create value from an NFT collection, you're really kind of going the route of the typical artist, is the way I would say, is that you're somebody out there creating art, creating value, from your own talents, and trying to make that and market it and make it something that is of value that people will want to, purchase it on the blockchain. Is there any security software available for crypto mining? Yes. I probably would throw that out to Kevin. He probably is somebody who'd be better to answer that as well. The software is not your challenge. The hardware is going to be your challenge on being able to purchase hardware that you can actually do some effective crypto mining with. Video cards, unless you have kind of high-powered video cards, kind of sitting around your basement, it is quite the challenge to be able to purchase hardware to be able to do crypto mining on any scale. But the answer is yes. There's software available, and then there's and then obviously you need to have the hardware to do it. Yeah, it didn't become its own business for nothing. There's tons of opportunity out there.